Hey, I'm Shy Fox, and today we're gonna draw a pig. I'm going to take you through this tutorial step by step so that you can follow along and draw this too, no matter your skill level. I'm going to be using Clip Studio Paint, but if you use a different art program, that's fine as well. Lots of the tools that I'm using are basic and most programs will have them. If you've never made digital art before, you can check out my playlist with videos of what you'll need to know before getting started in digital art. Any other videos or links mentioned during this video will be in the description so that you can go back and check them at your own convenience. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more tutorials like this one and more digital art tutorials in general. I've got lots to teach so that you can improve your digital art skills. And if you're not a digital artist, no worries, you can always just draw with a pencil and paper. So before we get started drawing our pig, let's just note that this is the workspace that we're working within in Clip Studio Paint, and if you're using another program, that's no problem. So if you're missing any windows or yours looks different, just note that the window tab is here and you can see all the things I have checked. You can check and uncheck them to open them and find them. And then also note that I have reset Clip Studio Paint back to default, so there's nothing particularly different about mine from a default program in general. And I'm also using just kind of basic brushes that come with the program, nothing too fancy, as I want it to be easy to follow. But you can improvise and use whatever brush you want. So to get started, go File, New, and we're going to use canvas size 1500 by 1500. The bigger the canvas, the more pixels and the less pixelated it'll look. Sometimes people worry about that. So 1500 by 1500 and a resolution of 300 is fine. And I'm gonna keep the record time lapse on, click OK, and we're ready to sketch. So grab a sketching pencil, something you want to sketch with, and I'm going to use navy blue for the color, and I'm going to use size 10 brush. And we're going to get started actually sketching. So find your canvas here, and then slightly to the right of the canvas, draw a circle. This is going to be the back side of the pig where the hips are. And then we're going to also do a circle on the other side. That's going to be the front of the pig where the chest is. And depending on positioning, you may want to move these closer together. I'm going to do mine fairly close together, and the circle for the head can be placed here overlapping the other circle. The bigger you make this circle, the more kind of babyish and younger the pig is going to feel with a bigger head size. But you can play with that, and that is something we're going to try playing with. So you can turn the opacity down on this so that we can sketch over top of it. This is kind of our base for making our pig, and this is what we're going to use. So with a new layer above that, then we'll sketch the pig on a separate new layer. We want to start with the back, so we can kind of go straight out connecting these two and go around the back side of the pig, curving along there, kind of following our circle. And then we can draw in part of the leg. This is where the leg will connect to the body. And we want our pig to look kind of chubby. So we're going to round the bottom where the tummy is. And then for the leg, the hind leg at the back, we're going to do a little line going out and then back down, kind of a little zigzag, giving that kind of realistic kind of feel. Our pig is sort of a combination between realism and a bit cartoony, so kind of finding that balance. So anyways, going around, connecting that hip to our sort of rounded bottom of the foot shape there. And we can add a little line in between to make separation of the toes. And I'm eager to draw this tail, so let's just put this tail in. Little curve. And the placement on that actually isn't that great. It's too high. Pig's tail attaches lower, so we can just redraw that until we like where it is. and like how it looks. Much better. So we want to draw in that back leg now. So extending same sort of direction as the other lines. Do that little curve for that back heel part, and then down. And we don't want one leg to be higher than the other, one foot higher than the other. We want this back leg to be further back. We don't want this to extend past the front leg. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. So being mindful of those positions and a little line for the toe. Kind of clean that up a bit. All right, let's go ahead and draw those front legs in. Let's start with this one, the leg closer to us. So we're gonna draw along here, that chest gonna come down at an angle and the leg sort of like that. So that's kind of the direction we're thinking of. So a line angling that way. Again, we don't want the foot to extend past a certain point. It should be in line with our back leg. And we're gonna have it angle back towards the pig there, and there should be quite a bit of width here. There shouldn't be just narrow, so it should get wider as it meets to the pig's body. And a little line for the toes. And I'm just going to rotate it. It feels like it needs to be rotated. So just transform, select all our layers, transform it, rotate it. So let's do the other leg. I'm going to have it going the opposite direction as we want our pig to have balance. And again, some width where it attaches to the pig and narrowing as it goes towards the toes. Mindful of where the toes hit the ground. We don't want it to be too far down. Higher than the front foot, or the foot closer to us. So I'm just gonna transform instead of redrawing. Sometimes when I like the shape I have, I just do a transform instead of redrawing, and just clean that up, add a little toe line. And now we're going to add the pig's face, a curved line for the top of the head. And we can do like a bean shape for the snout. And 2 little dots for the nostrils. And a little line creating like a crease, a wrinkle, giving some dimension to the pig's snout. And there's a couple ways we can do the ears. One of the ways is a more realistic look where it's gonna curve around. I'll show you how to do this. I'm just showing you some options. So we could do ears that look like that. Alternatively, I'm just gonna erase these ears. Alternatively, we can do just kind of your simple triangular ears like that. So it's up to you, but I'm going to do the realistic approach. So to do that, you're going to create kind of an M shape. So if you can think of like those classic bird sketches, like the bird M, just like that. And then attached to that, do like a U type shape. And connect that to where the head's gonna connect to the ear, and a little curve there. So that's really all there is to that little curve. The other ear is even simpler. Just curve, go down, little point, curve inside the ear where the head will attach. We'll actually close that off. Close off where the ear attaches to the head from this side. And we're gonna connect our head fully around. And we need a line right here. So add a line from the snout partway onto the head. Connect the snout down to where the legs are. We might need to mess with some of this, so be prepared to make some changes. We want to also connect the head to the back of the back of the pig. Make sure you don't go too narrow on this. We definitely want our pig to feel kind of chubby, so make sure that's got width to it, like that. And erase and clean up where you need to as we go. I'm just going to do that a little bit. Let's try adding a mouth onto the snout. This could look good. It's kind of an optional look, so you can add that in. I'll keep it for now. So let's add in some eyes. Let's do kind of just dot-shaped eyes. One here and one there. And you might want to add little white dots inside. Give it a little shine. And I'm thinking we need to move this snout a bit. So selection tool, the lasso, and then we can just sort of transform and do some changes and see what looks better for our pig. You can move it around and sort of get a sense of what looks good, play with it, even rotate it a bit. And then once you're happy with it, just commit to it. Right about there, I think. Kind of just extended it down is what I did, and then I'm just gonna fix where the lines attach. Make some fixes. And part of that sketching phase is kind of making changes, and you know, I don't always get it right perfectly the first time, so being okay with making some of these changes as we go. I'm just gonna move around the nostrils too. Actually, it's too small. I'm going to have to, I think, erase and redraw this. Erase. And I'm just cleaning it up to make it look better. And I'm gonna make changes to the ears. I think if I increase the size, that will help. But if you've gone this far, you've really done the basics. You've done the shapes that we need. So how you go from here is really up to you. So we can get rid of that back layer with the circles. We don't really need it anymore. You can even flip to kind of see things differently. Give that fresh perspective. Highly recommend doing it while sketching. Just gonna make a couple tweaks based on that. A little rotation, and also just clean up some things that I'm seeing. And I'm seeing that maybe I should move the head. I think if I increase the size of it, that might look good. If you make the head bigger, it's going to be more like a piglet and start looking less like a pig. So the bigger the head, the more, you know, babyish it's going to seem. So I'm going to try and go for that look a little bit. I think it would be cute to add little eyelashes, so we're just going to do that right at the eyes there, just kind of going in the same direction, and even move them. Sometimes moving those eyes around to get the look that we want can help. And an extra little line for the snout. Just gonna fix these a little bit more, lower them. Yeah, I think that looks good. And if we pull the head back placement wise, that might make our head feel more balanced on the body. I think it was feeling a little too extended, too far out. So I'm just gonna fix it, move it back. So that our leg, front leg is sort of attaching to the middle of the pig's snout roughly. And that makes it feel a little more balanced, not so awkward. And I've changed my mind on that mouth part, so I'm just gonna take that out and connect it. I think it looks better without. All right, we're gonna add a layer to do our lines on. So we're gonna turn the opacity down of our sketch layer. All your layers for the sketch should be together on one layer, so have that. Turn the opacity down, and then you can have a new layer, whether that's a vector layer or just any layer, separate and above. Pick a tool or a brush for doing your lines. I'm going to use a pencil brush. It's similar to what I was using. I just call it number 2 because I've adjusted the brush density and I want to turn that all the way up. And then just line all the way around the pig. And we are ready to do some coloring now. We've finished the lines. The first thing we can do is add little white dots to the eyes. So select a new layer above your lines and do 2 little dots in the eyes. And we can turn off our sketch layer, don't really need it anymore. You could even delete it. And then we can create a folder, and that will be underneath the lines layer that we have. And then inside that folder, make a layer for some coloring that we're gonna do. So I'm gonna pick a peach color and I'm gonna use the fill bucket, but I've got to change my fill bucket settings and the setting of the lines layer. Take the lines layer and turn on the lighthouse button, set as reference layer. So we set that as a reference layer, go back to our other layer for colors and change our settings. We want to make sure set as reference is turned on there, and you might need to play with tolerance and the other settings, but this is my settings. If you are having trouble with this, I have another video to share. Click in the top right to see it, or in the description around how to use the fill bucket in Clip Studio Paint. So then we can click and color the main area of the pig. I'm going to do a new layer and do the other 3 parts separately for quick shading. So just kind of planning ahead, and then I'll do a new layer and pick a lighter peach color for the snout. And I'm going to go back to my original layer with the bulk of the body there, and I'm just going to clip it on the new layer to that bulk body layer to do some shading. And I'm going to pick just a brush here, kind of a basic thick brush, and I'm gonna use a slightly darker pink or peach and shade under the chin and shade under the belly, and at the back of the hips, and down the leg. And these are kind of rounded shadows. And on the side of the leg there, I think will help. Under the ear, we need a little shadow. And then where the snout is, we can do a shadow sort of between the lines there, a little line on the side of the face on either side. And on the other layer with the other 3 peach sort of sections, new layer, clip it on, and we're going to do sort of rounded shadows for those hind legs, or those back legs I mean. Rounded. And another shadow under the ear. I'm just going to fix that up a little bit. Don't want the shadow to be too big. And we'll add a little shadow to the snout as well, just all along the bottom. And back on our main layer, I'd like to add some gradient shading to add some dimension. So I'm just gonna click this lock transparency button and pick a lighter peach. Oh, that's not the brush I wanted to use. It was set to this droplet brush, which that looks amazing. We could do like a spotted pig. You know how pigs have spots? That looks really cool. You could even do dark spots. Sometimes these happy accidents are worth embracing, but just ignoring that for a second. Let's do what I was trying to do. Take an airbrush and just softly shade along the tops of the back of the pig. And we also want to shade, I guess it's highlighting, highlight the top of the head as well, creating some depth and dimension. And so if we wanted to play with that spots idea, that's not a bad idea at all, because real pigs have different colors. They're not always this classic peach. We could do like these white spots. We could do dark spots. Something to play with, something to try. But I'm not going to do spots for mine. I'm just going to keep it simple. Up to you if you want to test that out. Instead, I'm just going to add a little shine. So I'm going to have a new layer clipped on, and I'm going to pick white, and kind of a more cartoony approach would be to have little shines on the back, on the head. Do little dot on the ear, on the front, on the back of the leg. So these are kind of the spots I'm choosing to put the dots, and we could even add one on the snout. I don't know if that'll look good. Try that out. Okay, and with our line layers, let's add a new layer above our lined layer. And if we pick a orangey color, we can add it onto the eyes. Just kind of create this little bubble effect. And turn down the opacity, so this does have to be above the lined layer of the line so that that'll appear. And we can add another layer above our line layers and clip it on, and this gives us the freedom to airbrush. Oh, not that brush. Airbrush some color. So I'm taking just a dark peach color and mostly coloring the inside areas of the pig, not so much those outside areas. And the tip of the tail, tips of the ears, and then, yeah, just those inside areas, and kind of leaving those outside lines more that black color. And we could erase where the eyes are. We want those to be dark and stand out. I guess you could add a little bit of coloring just at the bottoms, kind of gradient towards the top of the eyes, but the top of the eyes should be dark. So you can see the difference. It kind of just gives a bit more of a realistic look. This is a great little tip if you want to make lined art feel a little bit more realistic, is bringing in some of those real colors and making it feel just that bit more lineless without being lineless art. So there you have it. You have the pig finished for the most part. I'm going to go ahead and do a background for mine. You're welcome to sort of copy it. So I'm going to crop it down to a square, and you can go ahead and see how I've done my background. I hope you enjoyed drawing a pig with me today. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. I've got more draw along videos such as this on my channel and other digital art learning tutorials for you. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for drawing.